I'm saying if I was in that situation, I would try to get him in the best position, best health, Kelvin, best all that, so that if the time came and I could make a move, right? Mm-hmm. He's healthy, he's playing well, whatever, then I would make a move. Like I would.
You got to play chess.
But I totally get the conversation in him not like saying, well, I don't know about Zion. I don't, you know what I mean? Like that's the wrong message to send out to the atmosphere.
Rob Parker reacts to Joe Dumars supporting Zion Williamson. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
So Joe Dumars, friend of the show, actually, he's been on a couple of times.
Yes.
We like Joe. I think he may regret these comments here in a couple of weeks because he spoke to the Times-Picayune, fresh off Zion Williamson getting, sued for alleged sexual assault, which is not something to laugh about. And the Times-Picayune asked him, in the wake of these allegations, in the wake of him, quite frankly, being unavailable for them on the floor since he's been drafted.
Yep.
Is he still part of their future plans? Is he still the face of the franchise? Here's what Joe said, quote, I've had really good conversation with Zion. We've had lunch, dinner, watched playoff games together. We've done it all. I've had some real honest conversation with him, some real direct and honest conversations. We're going to move forward with Zion. He's going to continue to be a focal point here as we go forward.
I understand he wants to support his franchise player, but your franchise player hasn't been available in his 5 or 6 years during that time. So he may have a season where he give you 60 or 70 games. Then the other 4 or 5 seasons, he's barely playing 20 to 30 games. So I know the whole allegations, terrible look. Hopefully he's innocent. I know they want to support their franchise player, but hopefully Zion's able to support himself, take his nutrition serious, keep the weight down, and be available to play. That's the main thing with Zion. When he's playing, he's an easily 25 and 10 type of guy. He's going to put up points. He's going to get his stats, but he has to make sure he's available for the Pelicans, especially in the playoffs. They had a couple playoff runs with Brandon Ingram and a couple other players, but Zion was nowhere to be found. Hopefully their next playoff runs, he is available, but it's no surprise that Joe Dumars is supporting Zion, or maybe he's trying to keep his trade value up. If there's an available trade out there to get better, to get another scorer, all-star player, I think you have to look into trading Zion. But right now, Joe Dumars is trying his best to support him.
I think, Joe, I understand you don't want to paint yourself in a corner, okay? Mm-hmm. Seriously, you just got there. You might not be able, if you're telling people that you're out on him, then what's the value of him? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I totally get it. It doesn't mean he didn't say Zion's here as long as I'm in charge and he ain't going nowhere. That's not what he said. He says the focal point. He's on the roster. He's got a contract, right? And I think that makes sense.
Exactly what I was saying earlier. You want to make sure you keep his trade value up as high as possible. Right now, his trade value is maybe a C+, B+ level, meaning they're not going to get multiple first-round draft picks, but can you get at least someone that can give you 20 or 25 points in return for Zion right now? It's 50-50, depends on what's being traded, depends on how many teams are involved. But if you're Joe Dumars, you really got to play chess with Zion Williamson and the rest of the NBA. Keep that trade value high, and hopefully the start of next season, before the trade deadline, he's playing 30 to 40 games, putting up 25-plus points per game, and then maybe teams will come knocking and be like, look, we got some players available. Do you want to revisit possibly trading Zion Williamson?
I'm saying if I was in that situation, I would try to get him in the best position, best health, Kelvin, best all that, so that if the time came and I could make a move, right? Mm-hmm. He's healthy, he's playing well, whatever, then I would make a move. Like I would.
You got to play chess.
But I totally get the conversation in him not like saying, well, I don't know about Zion. I don't, you know what I mean? Like that's the wrong message to send out to the atmosphere.
Exactly. So they're just going to continue to kind of hype up Zion, mentally make sure he's locked in. Hopefully these allegations are proven false. So that's one thing you got checked off. Then the next thing, which has been the problem for Zion, his availability, his nutrition, and his weight. As long as the allegations are proven that, fictitious, not true, then you could just worry about Zion being available. So best case scenario with Joe Dumars and the Pelicans organization, Zion has a great start of the season, comes in healthy, in shape, and ready to work, and see what you can do and try to salvage this team. Maybe there's a move or two you can make with some role players to put around Zion and those other players, and maybe the Pelicans can start off good and be in a playoff race before the trade deadline.
He had no choice but to say he's the focal point. What I mean by that is twofold. One, I still got season tickets to be sold, and I'm sure they're not doing great, but we really not going to do anything if we're talking about getting rid of Zion.
It's a business, right?
It's a business. Also, because I think there's a chance he realizes, and we talked about this with Kevin Durant, I'm not going to get the best return on that dollar anymore like I would have 2 years ago. So therefore, we might actually have to ride it out with him, and I'd rather be all in with.
But if he gets healthy and you know what I'm saying, plays, that's when you try to make it.
Right, and that's why I'm saying I got to be all in with him so that he believes in the system. He believes in me. I'm starting fresh with him. We got a new relationship. We get him in the best shape, get him in the best health, and that I have the option to trade him. Or we actually have something we can say, all right, we're stuck with him. Let's hope we get the best version of him. And if Joe Dumars does like he did in Detroit, is build around him and actually put a good team together, then maybe we can have something. But he can't come out talking about, we're going to explore options. And you can't do that, because if you get stuck with him because you can't get anything for him, now you make it even more awkward for your only real star on that team.
Yeah, good point by Kelvin. It is a business, so you don't want to start trashing Zion. We're looking to trade. We're open to offers. There's a fan base hanging on by a thread. You want to make sure you keep those ticket prices where they're at, season tickets in order, because people still rock with Zion, no matter what the allegations are, no matter what his availability is or isn't. The fan base will be rocking his shoes, the jerseys, everything. So you want to keep the fan base engaged, keep Zion locked in, and again, hopefully he starts out the season playing good, healthy. And then I guarantee teams will inquire with Joe Dumars in that front office, like, look, I know you said these things strategically before the season, but will you be willing to trade Zion for these assets?
100%.
He had no choice but to really kind of ride this thing out, speak highly of him, try to build some rapport so that you either can build back the equity, right, the trade equity, the trade value, or you have a great rapport with him if you have to stick with him for the next year or two.
And the other thing, too, is in that quote, he talks about, we had real conversations. You know what I mean? Like, I spent some time around him, talked about it. So I wasn't trying to soft soak it as if everything's great. You know what I mean? And there's nothing to talk about. There's something to talk about. And everybody know I've known Joe for a long time, when he was a player, when he was ran the Pistons and all that stuff. And the one thing that I always liked about Joe, running a team president, whatever, exec, is the best part is that Joe's his motto. And I think it's the perfect model. It's not about being right. It's about getting it right.
Yeah, again, hopefully Joe Dumars can somewhat emulate what he did with the Pistons, with the Pelicans. Don't know if they're going to win a championship in the next 3 or 4 years, but while you still have Zion, at least healthy right now, under the age of 30, still within a contract. He has a few years left. There is some clauses there, but hopefully Joe Dumars could be the person that kind of makes Zion take things more seriously. He can't just go into the season hoping for the best and wanting to be healthy. He has to set those standards now, so hopefully there's a breakthrough with these conversations. Hopefully everything is good with Zion to where mentally he's locked in, legally everything is going to work itself out, and maybe see the best version of Zion Williamson with Joe Dumars.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know this because you're a Pistons fan. He traded guys that he drafted. You know what I mean? When he realized this isn't going to work. Yeah, when Rick Carlisle came to Detroit as a coach, and Rick Carlisle didn't want Mateen Cleaves, right?
Yep.
He knew, like, I'm going to sit here. I can't force the coach to play a guy who doesn't want to play, or have everybody sit around and say, how come Mateen ain't playing? You know what I mean? So what did he do? He moved him.
Yep. And he was a hometown hero.
Right. He had won a championship. The Pistons drafted him, what was like 8th or 9th
10th pick or something like that.
But you know what I mean? Like, and they needed a point guard, and they got Chucky Atkins, and when the Ben Wallace deal, right? And I think right away, Chucky Atkins was going to be the starting point guard. So right there,
he was better. He was better.
Yeah,
than
but that was my point, is that Joe's mindset on being an executive is a smart one, because most guys, when they draft and they make a mistake, Kelvin, they spend time, that pride, they will do whatever they can to prove that they weren't right, instead of just saying, dude, we missed on that one.
Again, with Joe Dumars, he's willing to trade. He's going to make the team better. I'm going to say that's a guarantee. The Pelicans will be better, in the next 2 or 3 years? Will they be a playoff contender? Will they win a round or two with Joe Dumars at the helm? It's possible, but it all starts with Zion Williamson. So, of course, he's going to butter him up, talk to him, chop it up, watch the game, go out to dinner, build that rapport. You really want to try to get into the psyche of Zion to see where he's at. So he's filling him out, seeing where things are at with Zion, and right now it looks like it's good, but I guarantee if the right team comes knocking, or a bunch of teams, he will listen to those trade offers. He will trade Zion if the opportunity presents itself.